The wind howled outside Jack's cabin. Snow hit the windows like tiny fists. It was a cold and silent night in the mountains, and Jack was alone. He was fixing the heater, wrapped in an old sweater, when he heard a knock on the door. Not a loud knock. A soft, slow knock. Tap, tap, tap. Jack paused. Who would come this far in the middle of the night? He opened the door slowly. Cold air rushed in, and with it a strange figure. She was tall. Her skin shimmered faintly under the porch light, pale silver with a faint blue glow. Her hair, long and black, was dripping with melted snow. In her arms, she held a small child. Another child stood behind her, shivering and holding her long robe. Her eyes were large and glowing. "Not human. Please," she whispered. "My children are cold and hungry." Jack stared at her. An alien. At his doorstep. With kids. For a moment he didn't move. Then the little one in her arms cried, a soft, sad sound. Jack stepped aside. "Come in," he said. She entered slowly, her bare feet quiet on the wooden floor. Jack shut the door behind her. "Sit by the fire," he said. "Warm up." The woman sat on the rug in front of the fire. She gently placed the children beside her, then rubbed their tiny hands. Their clothes were wet and torn. Jack brought towels, blankets, and warm soup. The children drank quietly, eyes wide, afraid. The woman didn't eat much. She kept watching. Jack like she was waiting for a slap, a shout, or a command. But Jack just sat nearby and asked, "What's your name?" She looked down. "I was called Sira," she said softly. "I'm a widow." Jack nodded slowly. "And the kids?" "My sons. The youngest is Eli, the other, Core." Jack gave them more soup. They were skin and bones. He had seen poor before, but not like this. "You walked through this storm?" She nodded. "I followed the light from your cabin, 17 doors before yours. All closed." Jack swallowed hard. 17? "Yes. I knocked. I begged. But they feared. Me, some cursed me, one threw ice." Jack sat back. He couldn't imagine doing that to a woman with kids. "And why come here?" he asked. Her voice shook now. She pulled the blanket tighter around her shoulders. "My mate is dead. He was hunted. We were rebels once. Now we're just prey. They want to kill his bloodline, my children, me." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Who's they?" She didn't answer at first. Then she looked him straight in the eyes. "They have ships, soldiers, collars for the weak. I escaped from one of their camps. I burned my tag. But they're coming. I feel it. That's why I knocked." She paused, her voice dropping low. "I need someone, not just a shelter. My children, they need a father. I need warmth, a bed, a protector." Jack blinked. Her words cut deep. "You want me?" he said slowly. She lowered her head. "I know it's sudden, but I have no pride left. I only have them." She touched her sons' heads gently. "And they are dying without hope." The fire crackled in silence. Jack stood up and walked to the window. The snow had gotten heavier. He looked at her reflection in the glass. Wet hair, tired eyes, scars on her arms, half hidden under her robe. But she had come here, out of all places, his cabin. "I'm not some hero," he said. "You opened the door," she whispered. "That's more than anyone else did." Jack turned around and looked at the children. They had fallen asleep by the fire, their bodies warm now under the thick blankets. He walked to the back room and returned with extra clothes. "They'll fit you," he said. She looked at the bundle in his hands, then at him. "You'll let me stay?" she asked. Jack gave a short nod. "Tonight, yes." She stood and took the clothes. As she passed him, he smelled her skin, like ash and something sweet underneath. "You can use the room," he said. "There's a bed." She hesitated at the doorstep. "What about you?" I'll sleep out here. She stepped inside, but before closing the door, she whispered, "You don't know what this means to me." "Thank you." Jack didn't answer. He just sat near the fire, staring into the flames. Outside, the storm raged on, and deep in the forest, something moved. The next morning, the storm was gone, but the air was still cold, and the snow had piled high outside the cabin. Jack woke up on the couch, wrapped in a blanket. The fire had died to glowing embers. He stretched his back and stood up slowly, then listened. The house was quiet. He walked to the hallway and gently knocked on the door of the guest room. No answer. He opened it slightly and peeked in. Sarah stood by the window, wrapped in one of his shirts. It was too big for her. Her long silver-blue skin shimmered in the soft light. Her black hair was damp, hanging over her back. But what froze Jack in place were the burn marks. Red and black lines, cruel shapes stretched across her back. Some were fresh, some looked old, and all of them looked like pain. He said nothing at first. He just stepped back. She turned and saw him. Her body tensed. "I didn't mean to spy," he said quickly. "Just checking if you're okay." She didn't reply. She just walked over and sat on the bed. Her hand shook slightly as she fixed her robe. "You saw them?" she said softly. Jack nodded. "Yes." She took a deep breath. "They did that to me. For escaping. For speaking. For trying to protect my children." "Who?" "The Salkari. The ones hunting us. My mate was a rebel. He died with honor. But they wanted his wife broken. So they chained me, burned me, beat me. They wanted me to be silent forever." Her voice cracked. "But I didn't break. I ran." Jack sat on the edge of the bed, not too close. "Why come here?" he asked again. She looked at him, her eyes soft and tired. "Because humans are said to have compassion. I had nowhere else to go." Jack stayed silent. The firelight flickered on the wall. He felt something heavy in his chest, anger maybe, or shame. "No one should go through that," he said finally. She gave a weak smile. "I did." Jack looked away. "Do the kids know?" She shook her head. "They only know we are running." At that moment, a soft cough came from the living room. Jack stood and left the room quickly. Eli, the younger child, had woken up. He sat curled near the fireplace, blinking slowly. His little arms hugged his knees. Jack crouched beside him. "Hungry?" The boy nodded. Jack warmed up some leftover soup and handed it to him. Cor woke up next. Both boys sat on the floor quietly, sipping their breakfast. Sarah came out a few minutes later, fully dressed now. She moved slowly, carefully, like every muscle still ached. But she stood tall, proud. "Thank you for letting us stay," she said. Jack nodded. "It's fine." He glanced at the forest outside. "Do you think they're still following you?" "I don't think," she said. "I know." Jack sighed. "We need a plan then. This place is safe, but not if someone's hunting you." She looked at him carefully. "You still want to help?" "I didn't open the door just to send you away." Sarah walked to the fireplace. She knelt beside her sons and touched their hair. Her eyes were full of sadness and love. "They are all I have left." Jack looked at them, then back at her. "I've got supplies, guns, a generator in the barn. We can defend this place." She turned her head. "Why?" "Because you knocked." And I answered. She blinked. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came. She just nodded. Jack stood. "I'll check the barn. Make sure the fuel is full." As he walked out, Sarah watched him from the doorway. Her burned back ached with every breath, but her heart felt different. Warmer. In the woods far beyond the snowy trees, a signal crackled to life. A cold, metallic voice spoke. "Target trail confirmed. Widow Sarah located. Human dwelling detected. Prepare for extraction." The hunt had begun, and Jack didn't know yet. He wasn't just protecting a family. He had stepped into a war. That night, the wind stopped. The forest outside Jack's cabin stood silent. No birds, no howling, just an empty, frozen stillness. Jack sat at the table, loading bullets into his old hunting rifle. The fire crackled behind him. Sarah watched him from across the room, holding her younger son Eli in her lap. Her older, boy Cor lay under blankets on the couch fast asleep. Suddenly Sarah's head jerked up. She stood quickly. Her eyes narrowed. Her skin shimmered slightly, like a warning. They're near. Jack looked up. How do you know? I feel them, she said, like cold hands in my chest. Jack stood and moved to the window. Nothing. Just snow-covered trees. Then he saw it. A shape. Far out. Almost hidden behind a tree. Not moving. Just watching. Jack backed away from the window. We're not alone, he whispered. Sarah closed her eyes. Her hand moved gently over Eli's back. Her voice dropped to a whisper. They send scouts first, silent ones. Their skin bends light. You won't see them unless they want you to. Jack picked up his rifle. Good thing I've got motion sensors around the barn. But Sarah shook her head. They're not coming for the barn, she pointed up. Jack turned and looked toward the ceiling. He paused. His eyes narrowed. The roof? Before she could answer, a loud thud shook the cabin. Snow fell from the roof. Something heavy had landed up there. Jack grabbed Sarah's hand. Take the kids. Go to the cellar. Now. She ran, holding Eli, waking Cor along the way. Jack followed, covering them with his rifle. They entered the hidden cellar through a trapdoor under the rug. Inside, the walls were lined with emergency supplies and canned food. Jack had built it years ago for storms. He never thought he'd use it to hide from alien soldiers. He locked them inside gently. Stay quiet. Don't open until I come back. Sarah grabbed his arm. You won't win if you fight them alone. Jack pulled his arm away. I don't plan to die, but if they get inside, don't wait for me. Run. Then he closed the trapdoor. Upstairs, he walked slowly, listening. Another soft thump on the roof. Jack crouched near the fireplace and aimed his rifle at the chimney. He knew how this worked. They didn't kick down doors. They crept in, quiet as ghosts. Suddenly, ash fell into the fire. A shadow shifted above. Jack fired. The blast echoed through the cabin. Smoke filled the air. Something fell halfway down the chimney, twisting. A black, smooth arm reached out. Claws scraped the stone. Jack fired again. The body fell into the fire and rolled out, sizzling. It was tall, covered, in armor that looked like bone and metal melted together. Its face was half mask, half flesh, eyes like burning coal. But it wasn't alone. A second figure crashed through the window, glass spraying everywhere. Jack turned, fired, missed. The creature rushed him, fast, silent. Jack swung the rifle like a bat. The butt hit the alien's neck. It fell back, but only for a second. Jack ran to the kitchen, kicked open the drawer, and pulled out a flare gun. He aimed and shot. The flare hit the alien's chest, bursting in fire. The creature screamed. A high, sharp noise that made Jack's ears ring. It rolled on the floor, burning. The room now glowed red from the fire and flare light. Jack breathed hard, heart pounding. Then he heard it. A whisper from the back door. She's ours. The door creaked open. A third shadow stepped inside. This one wore no armor, only long robes. Its face was hidden beneath a hood, but its voice was smooth and calm. Give us the widow, human. You do not know who you protect. Jack raised his rifle again. I don't care. She's under my roof. The figure stepped closer. She is not your kind. Her blood brings war. Let her go, and we spare your life. Jack didn't move. You want her? He said. Then come and take her. The hooded figure paused. Very well. It lifted a hand. From behind it, more shadows entered the cabin. But before they could move, a blast of blue light shot up from the floorboards. The trapdoor burst open, and Sarah rose, holding a small glowing orb in her hand. Her voice rang out. "You think I ran here to die? I brought something with me." The shadows froze. Jack looked at the orb. It pulsed with strange light. Ancient. Powerful. "What is that?" he asked. Sarah's eyes glowed now. "Hope. The last gift my mate left me. And it will. Burn them." The shadows stepped back. Sarah turned to Jack, her voice soft again. "I didn't come for safety, Jack. I came for the final fight." The cabin smelled like smoke and fear. One alien body lay burned near the fireplace. Another had melted into the wall after Sarah's orb exploded with light. The third had fled into the snow, hissing. Jack sat on the floor, breathing hard. His arms trembled from the fight. Blood ran down his left shoulder from a sharp cut. Sarah stood over him, still holding the glowing orb. Her eyes had returned to normal. The light inside the orb slowly dimmed until it was only a faint pulse. She dropped to her knees beside him. "You're hurt," she said softly. Jack laughed, but it was weak. "I've had worse, but not from aliens." Sarah tore a strip from her robe and wrapped it around his shoulder. Her hands were gentle, her fingers cold. The children were asleep again in the cellar. Sarah had made sure they didn't see the bodies. She had sung to them in her strange tongue, calming them until their eyes closed. Now it was only Jack and her, alone in the flickering light of a dying fire. Jack looked at her. "You didn't tell me you had a weapon like that." She looked away. "It's not a weapon. It's a memory crystal. It carries power from the past. My mate gave it to me before he died, but I only use it when I must. It shortens my life." Jack stared at the orb, now quiet in her hand. "You risked yourself," he said. She met his eyes. "You risked more, for someone who isn't even your kind." He gave a small shrug. "Didn't feel right just letting you die." Silence stretched between them. The wind outside had stopped, but a deep cold still clung to the cabin. The fire was nearly out. Sarah shivered. Jack stood up and opened the back room door. "Come on, there's more warmth in there." She didn't move. He looked at her. "You said you needed warmth, and someone beside you. I'm not offering anything more than comfort tonight, but you don't have to sleep cold." Sarah rose slowly, holding the orb close to her chest. Then she nodded. The room was small. A wooden bed with thick blankets filled most of the space. A candle burned softly on the table. Jack laid down on one side, still wearing his shirt and boots. He didn't say anything when Sarah walked over and slid under the covers. She lay facing the wall, her back to him. For a long time, neither of them spoke. Then Sarah whispered, "You smell like wood and metal." Jack chuckled. "I'm a mechanic. That doesn't wash off easy." Another pause. "You feel like safety," she said softly. He turned his head, watching the back of hers. Her hair was tangled but beautiful. Her voice shook, like she hadn't said kind words in years. "You haven't had safety in a long time, have you?" he asked. "No," she replied. "Even when I had a home, I was never sure if someone would break in or take my children or hurt me again." Jack didn't answer. His chest ached, not from his wound, but from imagining her life. She continued in a quiet voice. "I thought you would ask something from me in return for shelter. Most men do. Even alien ones." Jack shifted slightly. "I'm not like that." "I know," she whispered. "That's why I'm still here." Outside, the snow fell again. Inside, silence returned. But not cold silence. Something warmer. In the middle of the night, Sarah turned and pressed her back against Jack's side. Her body was trembling. He didn't move. He just whispered, "Are you okay?" "No," she said. "I had a dream. One of them took Eli." Jack placed his hand gently on her shoulder. He's safe, I promise. She nodded, but she didn't move away. Her voice was small, tired. Jack? Yes? If we don't survive this, we will. But if we don't, she continued, will you remember us? Remember that we were more than prey, that we were people. Jack's voice was firm. I'll remember you, every day. She said nothing after that, but her breathing slowed, and for the first time in years, Sarah slept through the night, beside someone who made her feel human. Far beyond the trees, in a silent sky above the mountains, a ship hovered, and deep inside, a cold voice said, the widow has found shelter. The human protects her. Mark the coordinates. We attack at dawn. The sun never rose. It should have. But instead, a gray sky stretched over the frozen forest like a thick blanket. The trees were quiet. The birds had vanished. Jack woke to the smell of smoke. He sat up fast. The sheets beside him were empty. Sarah was already gone. Then he saw it. A red glow through the window. The barn, he whispered. He grabbed his coat, boots and rifle, then ran outside. Flames were rising high, eating the wooden walls of the barn. Sparks shot into the wind. The fire crackled like a hungry beast. Black smoke poured into the sky. Jack's heart raced. Inside that barn was fuel, old tech and tools he couldn't replace, but more than that, it was their only backup generator. He ran for a water hose near the side, but the line was cut. He froze. Then he saw it. Footprints in the snow, not animal, not human. Heavy clawed boots, at least 3 different sets, leading away from the barn and circling around the cabin. It wasn't an accident, this was a message. Inside the cabin, Sarah was already awake. She stood at the window holding Cor and Eli close. She saw the smoke. They've started, she whispered. Jack stormed in, breathing hard. They lit it on purpose. She nodded. They want to flush us out, scare us, separate us. Well, it's working, Jack said, loading his rifle again. Sarah gently set the boys down and walked to him. No, we don't run. Not now. Not ever again. Her voice had changed, calm, strong, almost like a commander. Jack looked at her. She wasn't shivering anymore. Her scars didn't make her look weak now. They made her look like someone who had survived fire before. He handed her a small knife. It's not much, but... She took it and pulled up her sleeve. There, hidden beneath a flap of cloth, was a glowing mark on her skin. What's that? A code, she said. My mate left it. It was meant for our children if I didn't survive, Jack raised an eyebrow. And I'm still here, she said. Then suddenly Cor screamed. Jack spun toward him, gun raised. But it wasn't an attacker. The boy stood frozen, staring at the ceiling. Footsteps above them. Jack rushed to the trapdoor and pulled it open again. Get the kids down. Go. Sarah grabbed the boys and led them into the cellar. Jack locked it shut. Then he looked up toward the roof. And waited. A minute passed. Then 2. Nothing. Jack walked carefully toward the back door. He opened it a crack, eyes scanning the snowy field. Then a sound behind him. A hiss. He turned. Too late. A shadow dropped from the ceiling, tackled him hard. The rifle flew from his hands. Jack slammed into the floor. The creature was stronger. Its claws dug into his coat. But Jack didn't freeze. He punched, elbowed, rolled. The alien hissed again, drawing a long blade. Jack reached out. His hand touched a broken chair leg. He swung it up, cracking the creature's mask. It howled and fell. Back. Jack grabbed the rifle and fired. The bullet hit the alien in the neck. Black blood sprayed the floor. The body dropped, twitching. Jack stood, shaking, chest heaving. Then Sarah opened the trapdoor. You're bleeding again. Better me than you, he replied. But Sarah wasn't looking at him. She was looking at the barn. The fire had spread. Worse, 3 new shapes were moving through the smoke. Tall, armored, and coming straight for them. Jack turned to her. We need to fall back. Into the cellar. Seal the trapdoor. Sarah grabbed his wrist. No. That room was built to hide, not to fight. We need to lead them somewhere else. Jack's mind raced. Then he remembered. The old mine shaft behind the hill. Empty for years. He looked at Sarah. You said you're tired of running. I am. Good. Let's run one last time. Into a trap. 10 minutes later, Jack and Sarah stood inside the mine's dark entrance. Sarah carried a small beacon from her bag. Jack had set up motion-triggered flares around the path. In the center of the mine was a box, glowing faintly. Inside it, a small bomb Jack had built from his generator's leftover parts, enough to bring the roof down. Sarah whispered, "They're close." Jack raised his rifle. "You sure you're ready for this?" She gave him a rare smile. "Jack, I was born in fire." In the smoke behind them, 3 hunters stepped forward. Their heat signatures followed the human and the widow into the darkness. They did not know. They were the ones being hunted now. The sky turned pale. Not with sunlight, but with the soft glow of a new day trying to push through the storm clouds. Jack stood just inside the old mine's entrance, his breath fogging in the cold air. Behind him, the tunnel stretched deep and silent. The floor was rough, broken from years of decay. The homemade bomb sat at the center, wired and waiting. Sarah was beside him. She crouched low, eyes fixed on the snowy trail outside. "They're coming," she whispered. "I can feel them again." Jack tightened his grip on the rifle. "Good. Let them." Far down the hill, 3 shadows moved through the fog, tall, armored, and full of hate, but they didn't rush. No, they moved slowly, confidently. They thought the humans were prey. They were wrong. Inside the mine, Jack had rigged the tunnel supports with wires, fuel packs, and explosive powder from old mining kits. He knew the place better than anyone. Sarah had hidden the children deeper in the mine behind a sealed vent. Too small for the enemy to crawl through, but safe enough for a short time. She now stood with Jack, a blade in one hand and the orb in the other. "If this doesn't work," she said softly, "promise me you'll run. Take the kids." Jack didn't answer at first. He looked at her, really looked. Her scars, her tired eyes, her strength. "I'm not leaving you." Sarah looked down. "That's what my mate said too." Jack stepped closer. "I'm not him." She met his eyes. Her lips parted, but before she could speak, a sound, footsteps on stone. The first hunter stepped into view, his armor smoking from the cold. His weapon pulsed blue. He raised it. Jack fired first. The bullet hit the armor but bounced off. The alien snarled and rushed forward. Sarah stepped into its path. Her blade flashed once, cutting the creature across the throat. It fell with a sickening thud. The second one appeared, taller, faster. Jack tossed a flare into the tunnel. It lit the space red. Now the trap was clear, wires, fuel tanks, blinking lights. But the enemy didn't care. It charged. Jack and Sarah ran deeper into the mine, just as the alien passed over the last wire. Jack clicked the remote. Boom! The tunnel exploded. Rocks fell. Fire burst out in waves. The entire front of the mine collapsed behind them, sealing the enemy outside, or so they thought. But the third shadow had waited. It had taken another path, a forgotten vent shaft that led to the back of the mine. Now it crawled through, silent and deadly. Inside, Sarah and Jack turned as a new sound echoed behind them. "A third one," Jack said, raising his rifle. "No," Sarah said sharply. "The commander." He stepped into the light, taller than the others, his face fully visible, half flesh, half machine, with cold silver eyes. He carried no weapon, only his hands, long, clawed, crackling with strange energy. "You've run far, Sarah," the creature said. His voice was like ice cracking. She stepped forward. "I'm not running now. You will hand over the crystal. And the children." Jack stood beside her. "No, she won't," the commander sneered. "You are nothing human." "Maybe," Jack said, "but nothing's about to put you back in the dirt." The alien lunged. The fight was fast and brutal. Jack was thrown hard into the wall. His rifle snapped in half. Sira attacked, her blade meeting the commander's claws in a shower of sparks. She moved like fire. Fast, graceful, deadly. But the commander was stronger. He knocked the blade away and slammed her to the ground. "You are weak," he growled. Sira's hand reached into her robe. She pulled out the orb. It pulsed bright blue. She whispered something in her language. The commander stepped back, afraid. "No. You wouldn't." Jack, bruised and bleeding, pulled himself up. Sira stood, blood on her lips, orb glowing bright in both hands. "I would," she said. She pressed the orb to the ground. A shockwave of light blasted through the cave. The commander screamed. His body began to break apart, pixel by pixel, as if torn between two worlds. In seconds he was gone. Silence returned. Jack limped toward her. "You okay?" She was on her knees, shaking. "I used too much of it," she whispered. It was his soul, his memory. Jack helped her stand. "Then let's make it count." She nodded weakly. "Let's go to the children." Together they walked deeper into the mine. Behind them, the broken body of the past faded into dust. Outside, the first light of true dawn broke the clouds, and for the first time in a long time, the widow didn't feel hunted. She felt free. The mine was quiet. Only soft breathing could be heard. Sira sat with her back against the stone wall, the orb dark and lifeless in her hand. Its glow was gone, used, spent, emptied to save them. Jack checked the last tunnel. Nothing followed. No more footsteps. No more enemies. The commander was gone, his forces broken. Outside, daylight had finally returned. Real daylight. The storm had passed. He walked back to Sira and crouched beside her. "You saved all of us," he said. She smiled faintly. "No. We saved each other." The three of them, Jack, Sira, and her sons, walked out of the mine as the sun broke through the clouds. Cor held Jack's hand. Eli sat on Sira's back, asleep, his arms wrapped around her neck. The snow no longer seemed so cold. The trees no longer whispered of death. And in the sky for the first time in days, a small flock of birds flew by. They walked all the way back to the cabin. It was still standing, burned in places, but strong. Home. That night Jack fixed what he could. He patched the roof, covered the broken window, rebuilt the fire. Sira fed the children warm stew and tucked them into the bed she had once borrowed. They didn't cry anymore. They felt safe now. Jack sat on the couch cleaning his hands when Sira approached. She wore one of his old shirts again. It fit her better now. She stood in front of him without speaking. Jack looked up. "What is it?" he asked. She sat down beside him, close, very close. Then she said the words slowly, clearly. "I am not running anymore, and I don't want to be a guest in your house." Jack raised an eyebrow. "You want to leave?" "No," she said. "I want to stay, but not as a stranger." She turned her body toward him, placing one hand over his heart. "I came to your door because I was desperate. I asked for warmth, I asked for help. I even asked for a father for my sons, but now I ask something else." Jack swallowed. "What's that?" "I ask if I can be yours." Jack said nothing for a moment. Then slowly he reached out and took her hand. "You already are," he said. They didn't kiss right away. They didn't need to. Sira leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, her body relaxed. She hadn't relaxed like this in years. And Jack felt something he thought he'd lost forever. Peace. Real peace. Later that night, Jack opened the bedroom door. Sira stood by the window watching the moonlight on the snow. Her eyes were calm now. She turned to him. He didn't ask anything. She didn't explain anything. They simply walked toward the bed. Together. No fear, no shame, no past chasing them, only warmth. And the sound of two people breathing in silence, no longer alone. The next morning, little feet ran into the room. Cor jumped onto the bed. Eli followed, giggling. Sarah gasped and pulled the covers up with a laugh. Jack groaned. What happened to knocking? Cor looked confused. You were sleeping with Mama. Jack raised an eyebrow. Is that a problem? Cor looked at Sarah, then back at Jack. He shook his head. Not if you're going to stay. Jack pulled both boys close. I'm not going anywhere. Sarah smiled, her eyes shining. You're sure? She asked. Jack kissed her forehead gently. I open my door for strangers. But now, I wake up with my family. Outside, the world still held dangers. The Salkari might return. Other enemies might come. But inside that cabin, 4 souls shared something stronger than fear. They shared a bond, forged in war, strengthened by choice, and sealed by kindness. And when people asked later how one human became the father of 2 alien boys and the mate of a warrior widow, Jack would only say, I answered a knock at my door. I gave her warmth, and in return, she gave me a reason to never be alone again.